Hey everybody, how are you? I am excited to be coming to you to talk about literature reviews and reviewing literature versus understanding what a literature review is. The connection here is phase one of our hat is coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be focusing an enormous amount of time really looking at literature and kind of understanding how do we even begin to process through and understand what is out there, right? And so today's class is really going to focus on discussion of the literature review as a methodology and then the product of a lit review. So today, we're focused squarely on looking at this expansive knowledge base that we have, right, about any particular topic, and how do we begin to narrow that down and filter it into creating something that's actually meaningful and useful for us. So the first natural question might be, well, what exactly is a literature review, right? And so our text gives us some information about this. A literature review is used to summarize the current body of literature related to some phenomena. So let's say that you have a particular topic of interest for your hat. So it's customer service, or it's leadership, or maybe it's looking at a particular opportunity within an organization. What we want to do is to know what's actually out there. How do we even begin to summarize what we know about something? And oftentimes, the structure of a literature review is driven by content and key themes. So, there are perhaps things that you're going to find in a literature review that thematically kind of stick together. They hold together as one kind of idea that's kind of divided up into subsections. The goal at the end of the day, the most important thing about a lit review is that it provides a comprehensive synthesis of relevant and related information. And for the purposes of our class, we're going to be using peer reviewed research as a means to understand what we know is out there in the literature as a means to affect the future. And we're going to do that through the synthesis of relevant and related information. So let's dive in here a little bit. So let's say that you are just getting started with your project, and the field of information is just huge and vast, and it's really big. Well, I want to draw an analogy here for a minute. I live out kind of outside the city limits, and out where I live, there are a lot of cornfields and a lot of wheat fields, and I always take a lot of pleasure in the summer, in the springtime, particularly in the summertime, watching farmers plant their year's crops, and but they always result in these vast, expansive fields that, at the end of the day, we have to do something with them. Wheat in a field isn't helpful for anything if it just stays there. Corn in a field isn't helpful. So, how do we actually use the process of looking at an expansive field, whether that's a field of knowledge or scholarly inquiry, or it's a field of farm product that we need to get some kind of product out of at the end of the day? There's no doubt that we start large and wide. So, when you're first starting off your lit review process, you're going to cast a large net. You might type in something like the word leadership or something like the word customer service, and what you're going to find is maybe thousands, or maybe it's tens of thousands of articles about your topic, your phenomena of interest, right? We start with a very large landscape. And if you've run into this already, that's okay. It's very normal for this to happen, that we start big, right? So let's take a topic that I'm familiar with for a minute, like the topic of employee engagement. If you type in, let's just go to Google, if we type in the word employee engagement, we would get literally tens to hundreds of thousands of returns. If I go into the university library system and I type that in, right, we're going to get literally hundreds, thousands of articles. It will be a large landscape. But that's where we start. That's not necessarily where we will finish. The first thing we do is we begin to shift all throughout our field, right? We begin to kind of bob and weave, and we begin to look and examine and understand. And we begin to get a closer look so that we narrow our focus down. So let's say that we have this topic of employee engagement, and we want to look at models of employee engagement. Now we have instantly narrowed our field down from something that is wide and expansive and large, and now we begin to narrow down models of employee engagement, and we engage with that literature and we refine our search. We get a little bit of a closer look as we narrow our focus. So you have to engage with the research, right? Just like you would engage in a wheat field, so that you go into that field and you begin to look for exactly what you are looking for, something that's going to be useful for you, and you get a closer look. The next thing you do is you begin to refine that down into exactly what you need. So you continue to shift through that wheat field until you have what you need, and lo and behold, it's right in front of you. So let's say I'm employee engagement. I'm looking at models of employee engagement, and I'm looking. I find specifically that there are four models of employee engagement, or there are four unique perspectives of employee engagement. Now I have what I need. There are four different models. Each of those models could be a specific content area or specific theme, right? We talked about the structure of lit reviews being content driven or theme driven. So we have these four models, and these are the themes that we're going to use. And we're going to begin to look through the literature for these four themes. All of a sudden, what was in a wide expanse, broad field of inquiry is now something that's very specific, and it's focused, and it's exactly right in front of me. But don't miss the work that went into doing this, right? Even if we look at the picture here of the one strand of wheat, we had to engage with the field. It took time and energy to find exactly what we are looking for. So this isn't an easy process per se. It's not something that I'm going to do in 10 or 15 minutes. It may take a couple of hours to begin to sift through and sort through the literature. We are trying to understand what we know, and to refine this process takes time. But once we're at this point and we've narrowed our focus down, what we need is actually right in front of us. But don't miss this either. Now there's work to be done. So, under the theme of shifting through our wheat field, there's still work to do because we have to harvest our crop. But we don't harvest our crop in uh, kind of a lackadaisical way. The harvesters that we see in our picture here, they're very structured and systematic about the process of harvesting their wheat field. They don't want to miss anything. They don't want to miss anything that could be meaningful for them at the end of the day. And so they go about a very structured process for harvesting their crop. The same thing for you. Once you have identified what you're going to be looking at, now it's time to get access to those articles and to start reading those articles, and to be reading those articles in some kind of a structured way, whether that's highlighting or writing or using some type of an electronic device to keep track of what is it that you're looking for, right? And to do that in some structured way. But now the work, another component of the work, if you will, begins. The first part was narrowing this large field down into something very specific. And now the next phase is actually harvesting our crop or our research so that we can use it in some form. Once you have downloaded, gained access to, and read through your research, now you need to sift and refine what you found so that it's usable for you. This could be organizing themes and content areas. This could be typing up some of the information that you found and keeping a good track of notes. This could be, as I mentioned previously, highlighting and going through articles and making notes to yourself about what you have found and what kinds of connections that you see. But you want to begin to sift through this field in a way that refines that knowledge into something that is usable. Here in our picture, we have the actual grains of wheat. Now, this came from an expansive wheat field. There was work to be done to get here. But at some point, we have this all boiled down into a very usable product. And now, in this stage, we can use the research that we have, we can use the wheat that we have as a means to creating something that's usable for other people. In the context of wheat, we can make bread, we can make a variety of other products. In the in the context of a lit review method, you will create a literature review product. The lit review product comes out of the lit review methodology, and it is something that other people can use. So we've gone from an expansive field of knowledge down to something that's focused, down to something that's very narrow. We've harvested that out, We've gone through the literature to see what we know, see how we can refine that information and synthesize that down into something that's usable, and then we make meaning out of it. And that is the lit review product.